Good morning and welcome to another Writer's Morning Commute with Ashton Gaskill. It seems like a lot of people get hung up on very basic writing advice. And whether it's specific rules or whether it's some sort of new technique somebody's come up with that works for them and they're excitedly sharing it. It seems like the writing communities that I'm a part of, that I see, I don't know, it's almost like people just can't let things be. Probably comes from a place of good intent. But what I mean by this is there's some kind of common new writer questions and new writer advice. But whenever that advice gets handed out, not every time, but a lot of times, especially when the conversation gets large enough and gets enough eyes on it, people start arguing about whether or not it's good advice, or whether or not it's actually a rule, or whether or not, bringing up examples of books that broke that rule. Or someone comes up with a new idea for how to tackle their whatever stage of writing they're at. Someone's always coming back with just, oh, don't overthink it, just write. I find this to be kind of silly to a certain degree. As far as the people who are finding ways that work for them or sharing strategies that work for them, being told that they're overthinking it, it's not necessarily a matter of conscious thought a lot of the times. Like, a lot of times it's just trying different things and just doing what feels good to them, what seems like it might work for them and their personality. And sure, sometimes people get a little bit overzealous or overly enthusiastic about their method, but I very rarely see anybody saying that it's like the be-all end-all cure for every writer's writing block or anything. They're usually just saying, hey, this worked for me, maybe it'll work for you too. And sharing tools like that is great, in my opinion. Like, everybody's going to run into a writer's block, and not just one kind of writer's block, but there's a bunch of different kinds of writer's blocks. And having as many tools at our disposal as possible, and sharing what worked for us and what didn't, that kind of stuff really helps people get through that stuff. So I really don't understand people who complain about it, I guess. I'm not sure what the right word is there. But I put it down and just kind of tell people just to write. Like, if just writing worked for everybody, all the writers would do it. Some people's brains just don't work like that, and they need a little bit more structure or what have you. Speaking of structure, that's the same general theme of the new writer advice. Like, in my opinion, a lot of new writer advice is, in general, good advice. It's the type of thing that you should follow when you're a new writer until you... Basically, I see this... Let me put it a different way. I see it kind of playing out in a funny way, where a new writer will start and they'll learn these rules and they'll follow them, and then they start asking, is this a rule? Can I ever break this? Is it absolutely 100% positive you can never do this, or you have to do that? And of course the answer is no, nothing is ever 100% positive. But I feel like it's a kind of your graduation from new writer status when you start to play with those rules. When you start doing things that conventional wisdom would suggest new writers not do, when you start looking at those situations and saying, okay, well, what happens if I do break that? Is this one of the spots? Like, when you can start recognizing those spots where the rule doesn't apply, and you start using those in your stories, that's when I think you stop being a new writer and just become a writer. Because maybe not all, most big published works are going to break those rules to some degree or another. So knowing how to do it without ruining your book is a big deal. It's a large part of making the book feel like a book and not like something that someone wrote. So that's definitely something that I see with a lot of new writers, is you look at published material, it feels like a book. It feels like a story you get immersed in. Whereas with new writers, it feels like something somebody wrote. It looks like words on a page, and there's just this layer stopping you from really getting immersed. And that's just one step towards fixing that. So, yeah. Thank you for writing with me today, and I hope you have a great one.